Once upon a time, there was a father and 2 sons. And the father was old, and he said, when I die, I will leave my land and you can share it. But when he did die, the older son, who was selfish and mean, he took all of the land for himself. And he had all of his father's cows and all of his father's hens, and all that the younger brother had was one old basket and one knife. He was so poor, but he was kind-hearted. He went into the forest, and there he looked for dead wood on the trees. And he cut the dead wood and put it in the basket, and when the basket was full, he went into the village. And there he exchanged his firewood for just a little rice, barely enough to eat. He was so poor, and he had no home. One evening, he came through the forest to the mountaintop, and there he sat on a rocky ledge looking towards the west. And as he sat there, he felt a rush of air above him, and the sky seemed to darken. And he looked up, and there were great beating wings of a huge bird. A bird that shone in the light of the setting sun. And the bird came down, and the bird landed next to him on the rocky ledge. Why do you sit here all alone? I'm poor. I have nothing. Is this true or is this false? It is true, I am poor. I have nothing. Then climb on my back, said that magnificent bird, and I will carry you to the island of the sun. And there you may take one piece of gold, no more. So he climbed onto the back of that huge and magnificent shining bird, and the bird opened its wings. Can I see your wings? Wonderful. And he took off from that rocky ledge. Listen. Over the mountains, the great bird flew. Over the forests, the great bird flew. Over the waters, the great bird flew. To the island of the sun, the great bird flew. And the bird came down. And as he saw the bird coming down, he saw that the setting sun was there, behind the island. And the sun set behind the island, and the bird landed. And the younger brother climbed from the bird's back, and he looked, and there, shining on the surface of the island, was gold. Many, many pieces of glittering gold. They covered the island. How many pieces did he take? 1. He picked up just one piece of gold, and he put it in his basket. And then he turned and he climbed onto the back of that beautiful bird, and the bird opened its wings. Away from the island, the great bird flew. Over the waters, the great bird flew. Over the forests, the great bird flew. Back to the mountains, the great bird flew. And the bird landed upon that rocky ledge. And he climbed down from the bird's back with his piece of gold. And he exchanged the gold for a little bit of land and a few cows and a few hens. And he farmed. And he lived well, and he worked hard, and he had bounty in his land. But one day, his older brother came and said, "Where did you get all of this?" And being kind-hearted, the younger brother told his older brother everything. "I want that gold." And the older brother took the baskets and took the sharp knife and walked through the forest, but he cut no firewood. He climbed through to the mountain, and when he came to the top, he sat on a rocky ledge looking towards the west. And as he sat there, he felt a rush of air above his head and the beating of wings. And he looked up to see that most beautiful bird, huge, beak shining. And the bird came down. its eyes sparkling, and landed next to him upon the rocky ledge. "Why do you sit here all alone?" "I'm poor. I've got nothing." "Is this true, or is this false?" "Poor. I've got nothing. I want gold." "Then climb on my back. I will take you to the island of the sun. There you may take one piece of gold, no more." So the older brother climbed onto the back of that bird, and the bird opened its wings. Can you remember? Over the mountains the great bird flew. Over the waters the great bird flew. Over the forests the great bird flew. To the island of the sun the great bird flew. And there, as he approached, the sun was setting behind the island. That most precious of stars to us. And the bird landed, and the older brother climbed off the bird's back, and he looked, and the island was covered with pieces of gold. He bent down, and he picked up one piece of gold, and he put it in the basket. And then what do you think he did? Yes, he took another piece, just one more. I mean, one piece of gold is not enough for someone like me. So we took another piece of gold, and then another, and then another, and another, and another, and another, and another. All night long he gathered pieces of gold and set them in his basket until his basket was full and heavy. And at first light the next morning he turned, but the great bird had flown away. And as he stood there, the sun rose in the east. And the older brother was burnt to a crisp. But the younger brother had all of his older brother's land. He had his pigs and his hens, and he did well. He lived in plenty. So much did he produce that he shared his bounty with those in the community who needed it most.